This is DB10, half artwork, half podcast, half choking on the cloud of chimney sweepings. Mel and I often talk about the strange gift you give us by inviting us into your ears. For us, it's what makes this an artwork, that kind of perverted intimacy of us sharing your space right now, while we all just try and kill some time before the end of the world. So, we thank you for that. This is part 2. In part 1, we talked about the violence of the generic and its critique through Chapel Rowan's Good Luck Babe. In this episode, we drown ourselves in the ambiguity of Sabrina Carpenter's embrace of the straight generic. But first, as always, Mel says some weird shit. Enjoy.
I'm not a savior, and I hate fucking saviors.
So do I. So do I.
Yeah.
But when you're actively exploiting someone else, that's where I just have to stop and think for a second.
Like, we're actively exploiting.
Just fucking for a second.
Your clothes is from cotton on,
yeah,
right?
sure.
Like,
I know.
Yeah.
The Cotton On Group is proud to be an Australian business born on Wadawurrung country, on which our global support centre is located.
No, not your clothes in general. That was out.
I know, but just there's a feeling difference. Okay.
I'd love to explore that feeling difference.
No. Let me talk.
It's part of the generic critique.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Can you turn the lights off? Just that one. That's nice.
Oh,
Just
can we
do you want to
turn that light off?
Yeah, you can turn that one off too. Yeah, let's get real.
Yeah, let's leave this in.
You could
Let's leave a pause of silence in here while I do this.
It's the other button. It's a fucking switch. It's a light that has a switch.
Can't be silent, can you?
No, well, not when you're doing the wrong thing.
There is no button.
There's a switch. It's a light. It's under it. There you go.
Let's pull it in and plug out.
Oh, God.
Wow, this is kind of intimate.
I like this. I don't have to look at you now.
Wow. Can I also say there is this account called Mad Fucking Witches? Have you heard of Mad Fucking Witches? Oh my God, they're the best, right? They've been around since the ScoMo and all that, politically trying to take down, the Murdoch network and all that stuff. And they're great because, they're called Mad Fucking Witches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can imagine the energy that goes with that. If you're going to be a witch now, you have to be a mad fucking witch.
Yeah.
Because that's how the world is, right? Yeah. If you're just a fucking happy witch, a white witch, go fuck yourself.
Or even mad, but that mad,
Don't
right?
beep that out. I know you beep
I won't.
Don't beep the go fuck yourself.
No, I don't.
It's to all you fucking white witches out there.
Whiteness as a structure.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say.
You can be a white witch. As in be a white person and a witch, and we love you.
Yeah.
But if you're a white witch as a structure,
don't even be
a problem.
Dark witch or a black magic.
Be a mad witch.
Yeah.
But that's the point, because what I just said, Mel, was that how do you make the generic popular? You define anything else as mad.
Yeah.
Like literally mad, right? Psychotic.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous, which is why
unhinged.
Within disability studies, we now have it called the new emergent, literally in the last 4 or 5 years, we call that mad studies. Like you reclaim madness.
Yeah.
You or crip theory. It's the same thing. Like crip negativity, this refusal to be categorized as diseased. And so mad witches is almost necessary. It shouldn't be necessary. A witch should denote madness. But it doesn't. We now need mad witch because of what witch has become.
Exactly. Who was the artist? What's her name? I can never say her name. Jewish American artist. She did a 20-year performance, 30-year performance about maintenance.
Claire's.
Euclides.
Again, what I love about that work is her. I love her. I like how she talks about art. I like how she talks about having kids.
Yeah.
Right, and she's like, it's boring, having kids. You're an artist, and especially as a female artist, it's all about maintenance. Having a child is maintenance. It's like cleaning them and fixing them, making sure they're alive and making sure they see the world through the lens of her lens, guiding them for a very long time, 24 hours a day. It's your consciousness is there, right? Yeah. So any kind of parent would know that, and especially if you're an artist, right? What happened to my grandfather, Marcel Duchamp? He's not doing that shit. He's playing chess, right? His bourgeois fucking self. So she just fucking creates this work that she just cleans.
Yeah.
Right? And it starts off her early work starts off maintaining the gallery in Chicago, New York. She's like cleaning the stairs, cleaning the toilets, putting the hours in, comparing her hours, her work hours to art hours, right? Maintenance work.
Yeah, it comes out of that wages for housework, her like cleaning the steps and all that stuff. Obviously, it's making like art's work visible, but it's in her manifesto where she like defines that, and she defines kind of resistance to that idea of having a show, putting art on a wall in a gallery is what she describes as death.
Yeah.
Right. That work is death because it's about trying to fix something in place and keep the dust off it so that it stays the same forever. Whereas maintenance is life because it is constant. I mean, obviously it's a dialectic between the two, but it's the thing that allows for that thing to sit on the wall. The life work that we do, like the conversation that we have here that we don't know what's going to happen. And this podcast is the maintenance of our friendship, that fluid flux that raises a child, that has a meaningful, open conversation with someone that an artwork on a wall can't do, physically can't do. And yet the history of art from modernism on is about praising the death work rather than praising the life work.
Yeah.
And of course, capitalism does that too as well, because a death work accumulates capital, whereas life work is supporting the possibility of the accumulation of capital itself. I hate Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
In terms of like listening to her music. Again, not her. I'm not interested in her as a person. I hated it when I first listened to it.
Yeah.
Having done this, having gone deep in like lyrics and like listening to the songs a few times, I hear myself singing along to the songs. I've always liked Chapel Roan. I like the songs.
Yeah.
With her, I've always resisted it, and I now understand I resisted it because everything I'm about to say about her is set up for me not to like her. Like, I shouldn't like her. And so I had this like guttural response to her music. But now having forced myself to listen to I really had to force myself to listen to it. I now actually quite like some of the songs. So anyway, I've read that as you will.
I love the fact that you're so honest. Do you know what I mean?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Look, sometimes you can love the things that you should hate, and I think that's okay. And it's that David McNeil thing. It's like there's a difference between something you love and something you find interesting. Sometimes they overlap.
Yeah.
And that's awesome, but also sometimes they're not, and it's okay to love something.
So it's like in the Venn diagram, you're in that middle bit.
I'm in that middle bit. Okay. And really the only reason I even thought about Sabrina Carpenter is because there's this writer, Fred Miller, who I want to love, but I think they're mostly just worthless. They were talking about Sabrina Carpenter and making the point about how Sabrina Carpenter's audience is all white women. And that, to me, remember how we had the conversation about the Orientalist painters and how they were huge in France, but mostly with white women, with women audiences? It's like, oh, something is going on here. Because Sabrina Carpenter is supposed to be the pin-up for guys to jerk off to, right? Yeah. And so I mean, I get historically that it's still often women that like listen to this stuff. But what is going on where it's an audience full of straight white women listening to this pin-up whose gaze is supposed to be for the man? But it's not operating like that. Right, that's not who's watching this. So I find that really interesting.
Yeah, she's got like a kind of like a Fox News reporter's hairstyle.
Totally, right? It's a 50s look, right? There's a like revival, and it is Fox News conservative. Yeah. The Republican aesthetic where like because it's so obsessed with ensuring like a binary between masculine and feminine, male and female, that historically, if you were a woman and already identified as a woman and biologically a woman, and you think there is biology and gender is the same thing because you're a Republican, in order to become the generic, you have to do all this incredible work. It's like, doesn't that obviously reveal the fakeness of your fucking argument?
Yeah.
Sabrina Carpenter. So we're now moving on to our second pop star. She is harder to find like a critique in. I'm going to think about Espresso, which is one of her best-known songs. You may already maybe think about what the connection might be to intoxicants from Freud.
Also, I think of George Clooney with his Nespresso. Yeah. See what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, look at the black and white fucking clip. It is holding the only color in this clip in this moment is the credit card. If Sabrina Carpenter identified as queer, like the parody would be so fucking obvious. Yeah. But it's never read parodically. So I want to kind of read it as an unconscious parody. Because that is a fucking parody. Like that, if you make an artwork, if a first year made that work where everything was in black and white other than a credit card, you go, that's too obvious. Yeah. Like, that's too obvious a critique of capitalism. So she is the quintessentially generic straight pop star of our moment, right? She's straight, she's white, she's blonde, she's young, she's rich, right? She just is, she's that.
Like that's who I thought about when I saw this. I thought of Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then I thought of Kanye.
Yeah.
You know, it's got like there's an aesthetic that's 20 years old now, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm interested in how her audience, i.e. Sabrina Carpenter, of who her audience is and how she is read through this sort of straight generic. In other words, how she uses the generic to hide her, by which I mean her audiences, because there is no such thing as her. She's the cipher. Like, yes, she's a real person probably, but that's not what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the millions of people who identify with her. So that's what I mean when I say her. I'm interested in that audience's straight queer desire, in that they would identify as straight, and they do identify as straight. So Sabrina Carpenter is the woman that Chappell Rowan says good luck to. So if we're saying who's the person who goes out and kisses 100 boys in bars, Sabrina Carpenter. And Chappell Rowan is saying, no, you love me. That's how, I mean, obviously that's not what's going on, but that's how I read these two pop singers. And I think if you think about both of that means that Chappell Rowan is suffering because she loves Sabrina Carpenter, but Sabrina Carpenter isn't at the point where she can say that she loves Chappell Rowan. And Sabrina Carpenter is suffering because she has to perform this generic straightness, and she has to drink the espresso. She has to drink another shot just to deny her love for what she actually loves, which may or may not be Chappell Rowan. We're talking about anything that's considered not generic love. Yeah. We're talking about the fucking monkey with the erection. Anything that's not within what Rich termed compulsory heterosexuality, that normative default that requires the espresso. Fascinatingly, and maybe hopefully making my argument a little bit stronger here, but Carpenter does do a cover of Good Luck Babe. And it's kind of like a classic appropriation that she does. So if we think about, like country music as the appropriation of blues, which following the logic of the generic was the removal of passion, desire, and black experience out of the blues so that it could be marketed towards a sort of generic, general white bland audience, right? So country in this sense is the cultural extractive mining of the blues to produce a kind of meaningless generic slop.
Yeah.
And yet Carpenter, what she does is she literally produces a country cover version of Rowan's Good Luck Babe. Now we could already argue that Rowan's song is pretty much country anyway, so we're kind of taking something that doesn't have much passion and then removing any last bit of passion that was in it or experience that was in it out through Carpenter.
Yeah.
But I think that in this sense, we just say that it's in the tradition, that, at least 200, 300-year-old tradition of stealing from black and queer cultures to generate white profit. However, I think if we try to do a generous reading here, we could say that her version is an admission that she was, like this is her saying, yep, I am the woman that Rowan is singing about. And so her attempt to literally take Rowan's words out of her mouth and say them herself is a way to de-radicalize or repress and remove the dangerous desire out of Rowan's song to essentially make it straight. However, I think if you watch the clip of the cover version, I mean, I'd love to play this to us like Psychology 101 class, because I don't think it's a stretch to say, in fact, I think it's a pretty good example of dissociation, right? Like if you watch how Carpenter delivers the song, it is dissociative. She doesn't want to be associated with Rowan, right? Even though she's singing literally from the same songbook. I find that interesting. I find that kind of cognitive dissonance in the cover interesting. The song itself, not.
Can I
Yeah.
suggest, I'm going to make an analogy, like I'm going to look at a historical analogy and look at Madonna, Kylie Minogue, Danny Minogue, Cher.
All the Minogues.
How queer culture, especially gay men, but just queer culture in general, adopts these dying pop stars. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so Sabrina Carpenter hasn't
hasn't been adopted by the queer aesthetic.
But she I think that's a really interesting point that these, like Madonna is a really good example of in her like emergent days.
Like a virgin.
And similarly like Kylie Minogue of being these Sabrina Carpenter figures read as entirely straight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like sexy and sexual.
Yeah.
I'm going to use Paris Hilton as an example in a second as well, right? These figures, but then through their own stardom, they're allowed to be queer.
Yeah.
Or they get queered, but then they embrace that. And so that's what I'm interested with Sabrina Carpenter. Like, what's desire is being repressed that she has to become a pop star in order to find some sort of confidence to be whatever it is that she actually wants to be.
Are you safer in that world?
Yeah, because you become hyper real, right?
Yeah.
You don't become the generic anymore. You become the pop star. So that allows you to be something other than straight, which is also what I think her audiences are identifying with. Yeah. It's almost like, oh, we can't do that, but we'll help you do that.
But the paradox is the straight aesthetic becomes the queer aesthetic.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's what Chapel Rowan does, right?
Yeah.
Through nostalgia. Because you only have to look back a bit and then you go, oh yeah, of course, like Madonna's look was queer.
Yeah.
But we only see that in retrospect. But Sabrina Carpenter too, like that's what I'm saying. This is queer. Like this image is like a queer critique of straightness, its relation to capital. To me, it's right there, but it's being refused to be read like that. Like actively refused to be read like that, aggressively repressing this and aggressively asserting her as straight. And that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
You know, obviously like her marketing and her like is part of that branding, but I'm interested in why we're so insistent on making sure that we only read her straight. Anyway, so Sabrina Carpenter is performing the perfect generic while she waits to be brave enough to be herself. Everyone thinks she's this perfect, happy, rich, has her life laid out. But to me, I think we can read this as a camouflage, like again, general in her audience as well, for something deeper, truer that she can't face yet, which is the reality of the depression of straightness. Just to make the point, this is a Sabrina Carpenter audience where you can see it's all white, all young women. So her nostalgia for this sort of 90s sex-positive feminism through a lens that is forcefully and defensively being called this aggressive straightness. And yet her audience is almost exclusively straight white women. So how does she use her straightness as a camouflage? And how is her, more importantly, her audience using it as a camouflage? In other words, how can the wife who wakes up in the middle of the night depressed that she is nothing more than a wife, how is she allows herself, how does her husband allow her, again, symbolically, maybe violently, to be able to listen to Sabrina Carpenter, but not Chapel Rowan? Because if you listen to Chapel Rowan, you're listening to a queer woman who said that anyone who has a kid is depressed. You listen to Sabrina Carpenter, if your husband looks over, he's like, oh, that's a cute white blonde chick who I'd fuck.
It's almost like the dildo. Because I look in there, right? I look here.
She's the dildo.
Yeah. Because I look over here and there's no men in the audience.
Yeah.
So men would be afraid to go into line up and go into this concert, right? Like the heteronormative man. The only man in this audience is either a dad, taking chaperoning the DILF, chaperoning their daughter, right?
Yep.
Or a gay man.
Maybe a queer kid.
Yeah.
But not
like a 1%. Yeah, that's it.
So it's a space for women.
Yeah.
That is a camouflage space because she is the dildo, because she appears to be so fucking straight that it's not a threat, but actually she is the threat. There's something going on here. I think it's unconscious, maybe, but there is a real desire and need that's being expressed by all these women who want to come together to listen to this. Yeah. So what are they listening to? What is the shared aisthesis?
A vibrating dildo. Like it just vibrates when it's on stage.
Yeah.
It's like
she's the vibrating dildo. Yeah. And I mean that in a really nice way. Actually, this is a good thing, not a bad thing. And like, to be clear, when I say in a good way, like I mean in the sense of how we've discussed the dildo before, right?
Yeah.
So the dildo is both this kind of object of fantasy and desire for the straight man, but at the very same time, like an object of anxiety, right? So you have the classic sort of fantasy of the man seeing the woman using the dildo. And I think perhaps this is best expressed in that protest banner by Donna, what's her name? Gottschalk, right? It read... that famous picture, and the banner reads, the protest sign reads, "I'm your worst fear and I'm your best fantasy," right? Yeah. So in that sense, not only does the dildo make funny and impotent the man's relation to his own biocock, right? But it actually represents that his fantasy, right? The man's fantasy is actually a fantasy of his own replacement. Yeah. So in this sense, we can see the dildo as operating as a kind of autonomous object, in that it is both camouflaged and also incredibly spectacular at the same time. For this reason, it's the object that is able to exist and live in the bedroom side table and promises a fantasy to the husband, which in fact is the exact opposite fantasy of the wife. Right? So in that sense, Sabrina Carpenter as dildo, if we think of her as dildo, is both the every man's fantasy and the very object that is replacing him. In kind of very straightforward terms, her audience would much rather go see her perform than fuck their husbands or be with their husbands. And yet, to the husband, seeing Carpenter is like seeing the dildo in the bedside table, right? It's the fantasy. It's the fantasy dildo vibrating a kind of straight affirmation of why he exists. Whereas in reality, the dildo is just a tool or an object, a cipher through which these women are having a kind of pleasurable libidinal experience. Yeah. I mean, again, that is a somewhat positive reading of this, I think. Is also potential that the Sabrina Carpenter is what the dildo usually is, which is non-functional. It's just an object like any other kind of consumer object that isn't really doing anything but just exists there. And if that's the case, that would go to perhaps explain the kind of vacuous explicitness of her, like her spectacular boringness, if you like, that no matter how much she performs sexual acts and activities on stage, it still doesn't seem to be sexy. And so to me, then maybe that is like the dildo that is just the fantasy of something, but is really just an object. So what do I mean by that? I mean that like maybe it's not even that that we're talking about her as the cipher through which the audience can feel desire, but really it may just be an object that enables time, right? The capacity to put off feeling anything.
Yeah.
So you would, in other words, you would go to see her not to feel desire, but literally because it's a way not to feel anything for a while. She isn't looking at you. She's not trying to engage you. The analogy that I might use here is like the thing that I think quite a few parents have probably experienced, which is that you take your kids to a kids movie, right? And you go into the cinema. It's a dark cinema, and it's a kids movie. And of course, as a parent, you don't really want to watch a fucking kids movie. So what do? You just lie in the dark and you have like 2 hours where your kids aren't jumping on you, right? But you get a peace and quiet. I think going to the Sabrina Carpenter concert might be actually just the peace and quiet that these straight white women can get for a couple of hours. Well, that's depressing, but maybe that's really what's going on here. So, the generic explicit, which is what I think she is. She's great, Mel. Fucking great. The generic explicit, what is a generic explicit? A fucking dildo. That's what the generic explicit is. Thank you.
Genius, right?
Fucking genius sitting right here. You may even get to touch my leg later. The perfect generic. So unlike the 90s message, her message is designed to only appear sexually liberated and appear to promise sexual satisfaction in heterosexuality through feminism and empowerment, right? I don't think it actually believes in that message. I think that's why every woman is there, because they know that that's the cover for something else. Actually, this 90s return as critique is something that I think we've seen in the latest Matrix film. So the latest film, which is Resurrections, right, from a few years ago, it's directed by Lana Wachowski, right? So one of the Wachowski sisters from the original film. And it was like a terrible film. Everyone hated it, but also no one hated it so much that it could become a kind of cult classic, right? It was just boring, dull, meaningless, right? I actually think we can do a reading of that where it's a brilliant decision from Lana Wachowski, right? So stick with me as I try and kind of argue this out. If the notion of the base generic out of Marxism, right, and then applying a kind of generic aesthetic is the generic of industrial capitalism, right? It emerges as through industrial capitalism, as we said last episode, as just this shitting out of ever again the same boring product, right?
Yeah.
The boring dildo. But when this generic is applied to the superstructure, it then becomes the perfect, right? That's the argument we've been trying to set up this whole time. So the perfect pop star, the perfect movie, the perfect way you're supposed to live your perfect life, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
This is ultimately the horror of Sabrina Carpenter, or at least that what she seems to symbolize as this kind of impossible generic that you couldn't possibly be it, but it's supposed to be what you live up to, even as the generic actually gives her an exit from the generic, right? That's the cruel irony of this, right? It gets her out, but we are stuck dreaming of it. Anyway, the perfect film was the 1999 Matrix, right? Great film. But because it was perfect, it needed to influence the base, right? Which means it needed to have a remake. It needed to be turned into another product, a universe. We see how this happens with Marvel films, that no matter how spectacular Marvel becomes, they're insanely boring, generic, unfocused dribble. Lana Wachowski, of course, knew that this was the potential trajectory for The Matrix, that if she made a half-decent film, that they would just keep pumping it out until it became nothing. So what did she do? She deliberately tanked the film. She sacrificed the remake to ensure that the generic slop of Matrix films could not follow. In the film itself, in the new film, in the Resurrections, it has the line, "They will make it with you or without you," right? Which I'm sure is the kind of conversation that Warner Brothers would have had with Lana.
Yeah.
We'll make this film with or without you. And so she made it. And in doing so, she made the decision to kill her own film, right? To kill her own child. And it's a brilliant critique of the cultural generic, that she used the generic against itself and made a film so boring and so empty and so mundane that it stopped the world, to use Sabrina Carpenter's, not Sabrina Carpenter, oh my God, I guess in the cover, but to use Chappell Rowan's terms, right? It slowed the world down, it stopped the world, and it in fact ended an entire franchise. Now, Carpenter has this same look, appears to have this same capacity to focus through us rather than at us, to offer us nothing. And yet I don't, maybe kind of like Marvel, maybe it does burn itself out, and maybe in the death of the universe, we might get a sense of that critique. Whereas Lana just came in and fucking put that thing down. Brilliant.
Do straight men get adopted into the queer world? Like, does Justin Bieber have a queer audience?
Not to the same extent, right? I mean, I could be wrong. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. But yeah, it is an important and interesting distinction.
Yeah.
Between what's possible of a play within masculinity and femininity, but also just revealing that it is queer desire there. You can queer the female white straight pop star, but you can't seem to do that to the male. There's a difference in the repressed desire that's being expressed there. So in this way, she can talk about the failure of heterosexuality through singing about her supposed pleasure in it. And that's the cover. So for all of her white, all straight, mostly women audience, this failure is the shared experience that is unable to be said. I'm drawn to this Paris. I remember reading Paris Hilton's autobiography from 2005, which I know sounds weird, but it is like an Andy Warhol text. It's fucking incredible. Like, it's so empty, but in an Andy Warhol kind of way. Yeah. Anyway, so Paris Hilton said in that...
I have to admit, I like Paris Hilton.
Good. I'm going to tell you why. But I'm going to tell you why you like it.
I never liked Paris Hilton when she was famous.
Yeah.
I like the other end of Paris Hilton, like the now Paris Hilton.
And let me explain why. So in 2005, when she's like the straightest, most sexually active person, right? Because of the horrific violence of her assault of her sex tape getting out, right? That was the way for her to survive. But in her book, she says this like really telling things, which she says, I don't enjoy sex. I enjoy looking sexy. Because that's her defense. Her camouflage is looking sexy. Yeah. The sex she doesn't enjoy because no one enjoys heterosex, right? That's what she's saying. But it's more than that. It's more than just a defense, because in the last like 3 or 4 years, she's come out as, I guess, or just expressed herself mostly asexual. Like, that's actually who my identity is. And that's what you're picking up on, right? You're picking up on, like, she's actually a very fucking interesting person.
Yeah, there's something about someone that's come from a Hilton dynasty, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't mention that bit.
Yeah.
But she
comes from a Hilton dynasty, but we know the name Hilton now because of Paris Hilton.
We do.
I don't think of the Hilton Hotel anymore.
And you know that her grandfather disowned her.
Yeah.
Because she was so fatuous, he didn't find any value in her at all. And in that book, she spends a lot of time talking about being an heiress, but in a Warhol kind of way. You know, where Warhol's like, oh, it's better to be famous than a good artist, right? She says that, right? She has this like straight yet ironic, like holding the credit card of like, it's better to be a heiress than a povo.
I'm going to compare, I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off, but I'm going to compare her to Buddha.
I never know where you're going, Mel.
You know, like she's like an heiress, like Buddha was, fucking prince, right?
Yeah.
I reckon it's been about 7 years since we haven't heard from her, like, right? And all of a sudden she's appeared. Was she meditating under a Buddha tree?
Maybe that's what got her out.
Yeah. Or was there a lot of therapy going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, and now she's like re-emerged.
Yeah.
She's been, we've consumed her. We've shut her out. And now she's like this.
She can make art out of the shit that we gave her.
Yeah. She's our Manzoni.
Yeah.
She's our Buddha.
Yeah. I love that we can find something interesting about these people. Yeah. While also saying, like, obviously it's horrific. Like, the Hiltons are horrific.
Yeah. I know, but like it's fine. Yeah, exactly. And so it was like, you know, the class system in India, right? Yeah. Which exists at the moment, and we still don't talk about it. We will talk about wealth, we'll talk about racism, but we don't talk about class. Do you know what I mean?
So Sabrina Carpenter and the Death Drive, to bring back something we've talked about before. Here are 4 fucking clips. This is where I started to think, oh my God, something is happening here. So Sharpest Tool, Busy Woman, Slim Pickings, and Tornado Warning. All 4 of these clips, not so much Tornado Warning because it's a slightly different aesthetic, but it has exactly the same thing. You know how like when you have singing karaoke and they have like the video clip, that's obviously not the video clip, it's just these kind of random images. All 4 of these could be shot for like $20, right? And I'm like, oh, this is an interesting aesthetic. So it is literally micro movements of Sabrina Carpenter doing classically like sexy, like winking, putting a finger in her mouth.
Kissy face.
In Tornado Warning, she's like literally standing up and then sitting down again. If this was video art, it isn't a Conchi piece. Like it's this repetition, and it is like a loop, right? It's a literal like 5-second loop for the whole song, right? And so what we get are these literal micro movements of straight desire, which are just looped over and over and one again. Sometimes they're out of focus or they're like zoomed in, and the text is like over the top of them. Like the affect that I got from them was actually nausea. I mean, you said you had a headache. It made me feel nauseous watching them. This is deliberate, I think. Like this is like making me feel nauseous is part of me watching this, but also it's impossible to then not see the constructedness of the wink, right, or the finger in the mouth. She could be screaming louder at us that something is fucking wrong here, right? And with the Tornado Warning in particular, she's sitting up and standing down on a couch, but as soon as you read the lyrics, she's talking about therapy, right? It's a whole clip. It's just her standing up and sitting back down again. You're talking about therapy. You need therapy to be a fucking straight white woman to feel any desire. And so the nauseous inducing repetitions of this are, again, it draws from fucking 90s theory, which was all affect, right? And affect was about those micro movements that don't listen to what someone says, look at what they're doing, slow it down, like try and analyze that movement. That is the thing that's going to tell you what's going on. So we can see like the real in the cracks of the performance. But in this case, we don't even see the crack in performance. We just see that vacuousness. She's so perfect at performing this emptiness. And so it's like, come on, it's so obvious. And it is this death drive oscillation. You know, we talked about death drive as the elephant walking backwards and forwards. The loop is that, right? It's surviving the generic through this death drive movement of just like these repetitions of the wink, of the wink, of the wink, of the wink. And if you start to then think about this loop or this oscillation, all her fucking lyrics are this like contradictory dialectic of an oscillation between an always indexed against the man, right, of this desperation for a man, but an insistence at the same time on independence, which is that failure of the 90s feminism. It's like we're independent, but our sexual liberation ends up getting turned into a relation to the man anyway, in a patriarchal kind of capitalist system. So, for example, in her lyrics, if you need my love, I'm coming over to your place. If you don't need my love, I didn't need your little bitch ass anyway, because I'm a busy woman. Right, it's a busy woman, like literally, like that's you're supposed to be everything as a busy woman. The good mother, the MILF, the fucking lawyer.
Yeah, like the career feminism, right? Yeah. The norm core of that, what you wear, the sneakers to work on the train and putting on your high. Watching like videos on the train of putting on makeup. Yeah. Do you know? Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what this is, right? Indexed against like, I'm desperate for your love, but I don't need your love. So the other oscillation, so that's the main oscillation. The other oscillation that occurs, and what I think makes the shared aesthesis of the concert quite interesting, is this constant expression of both solidarity with and hatred of other women. So Because I Liked a Boy, which is a Sabrina Carpenter song for 2022, was a direct response to Rodrigo's driver's license, which was a song against her because she stole Rodrigo's fucking boyfriend, right? And so that becomes, you see a lot of the songs, we'll talk about taste in a minute, there's this hatred of and also love of other women. If fucking between men is homosexuality, so it's like, we can fuck because we're in a dark room now, right? Because it doesn't impact our straightness. For women, it's this love and jealousy because of its index against the man, right? The straight man. So once again, she says the quiet part out loud. All you have to do is listen to her and you can see the depression of straightness, right? Literally the title of her song is Please, Please, Please Don't Prove I'm Right. I guess I'll end this life alone. Or this one, which should be the fucking title of this podcast, if I can't find the one I love, I guess it's you I'll be kissing. Like, there is no more of a generic fucking straight attitude because she loves Chapel Rowan or she loves something that she can't admit that she loves. And then the last one, all the good ones are deceased. And I like this because the problem isn't a desire for masculinity. Straightness is the problem, not desiring masculinity, because masculinity can live in anything and anyone. So there were masculine people in the past, but they're all deceased. My tragedy of my desire is that man and masculinity have been locked together. So I can't find the masculine without the man, but I want the masculine, right? Or potentially, right? I want to have the masculine as an option, and I want it to be divorced from the man in that kind of straight sense. It could exist in a male body maybe, but it could exist in Chapel Rowan or anywhere else. So I think that's what the repression is like potential like desire for masculinity, at least as a starting point, but the inability to find that in the only thing it's allowed to exist in, which is the man, the straight male. Fucking great work. You seen this work? Chapman Brothers, castrated, ossified, bronze from 2006.
No, but I straight away knew it was the Chapman Brothers. Chapwoman's.
Yeah.
Chapwoman's brothers, sisters. Call them sisters now.
Sisters, yeah.
Yeah.
So Espresso, which was the one I wanted to talk about. You can see obviously she's going for this like 1950s pinup. Look how vacant. That's the vacant look I'm talking about, right? She masters that vacantness. Looks like she's looking at something, but she's looking at the horizon. She's never focusing on anything. She's very good at not focusing.
Yeah.
Which there's something really powerful about someone who doesn't focus on you.
Yeah.
It's like,
they're kind of looking at you, but they're not.
It's through you at the same time.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
Yeah.
And I think it's deliberate. Whereas a pop star is supposed to make you feel like you're the one that they're looking at, right?
Yeah.
She refuses to do that.
Yeah.
Fucking cool. God, I can't believe that she's cool. She's not, but she kind of is.
Is it her?
But this is the point. I don't know.
Is it her producers?
Yeah.
Is it her marketing team?
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
But
it's like
are they
Katy
all
Perry
cool?
made in one of her videos has a like obvious reference to Society of the Spectacle.
Yeah.
Right. That's not her. Right. That's the failed artist that becomes a video producer. Right. So yeah, it's a mixture of a bunch of things. But I'm interested in the culture. Right.
Yeah.
Like it's possible to be like smart and critical.
Yeah.
And at the right time, but a lot of that as being a feeling that she has that she's expressing rather than like a plan like Chapel Rowan does of like, this is how I'm going to, or an artist might do, this is how I'm directly going to critique this thing. It can be a critique and it can be meaningful and important and critical without us having to ask the question, is it her?
Yeah.
It is her.
Yeah.
Like her in a sense that it's her audience. It's like, there's something here.
Both the artists are genetically pretty too.
Yes.
Something happens when we adopt the ugly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It becomes beautiful.
Yeah.
These it feels like
The
not
opposite.
her, but what's the other one's
Chapel
name?
Rowan.
Huh?
Chapel Rowan.
Yeah, she's beautiful but trying to be ugly.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when Gucci takes the ugly and makes it beautiful.
Yeah. I think
Right?
both of them are doing it.
Yeah.
Again, the level to which Sabrina Carpenter is.
I don't think they're beautiful.
No,
I'm
but I know what
saying
you mean.
that generic aesthetic.
The
Do you know what I mean?
perfect generic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that is right. Yeah.
Yep.
So with Espresso, the song, I've already made the point that this is the palliative measure from Freud of intoxicants. So you need drugs in order to enjoy straight sex. And we know this history across the long 20th century, right, where amphetamines were commonly prescribed to housewives rather than tearing down straightness. What you do, you give a housewife speed in order to make them feel like they've got something to live for. That then transitioned, although obviously it was also at the same time, to cigarettes and then to coffee. Like we see this all the time. More directly, the Viagra for women, for straight women, is flubanserin, which is a literal antidepressant, right? How do you make a man want to fuck? And this is why I put in the Chapman Brothers, right?
Yeah.
There is all this like infrastructure around that is required to make two straight people fuck and pretend as though something enjoyable is. I like this also, the Chapman Brother ones. It's like, just to describe it, it's two brains with hammers hitting the brain. There's a cock, dildo, but there are like motors and pulleys. And so it's sort of like this cock is coming on another brain, but there's all this infrastructure around it that supports it, right?
Machine.
The machine.
The base and the superstructure.
Yeah. All of that, which when we're supposed to think, oh, it's like two become one in sex, all of that is supposed to disappear. But when you think about it for just a second, you realize all of this machinery is necessary. And when you hear that that in order for a man to get hard to fuck a woman in a straight woman, he needs Viagra, which is literally just, he doesn't have to think about it. Blood goes to his cock.
Yeah.
And for a woman to have anything close to enjoyment, she needs to be on antidepressants. Like something is fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Right? At what point can we say this isn't working?
Yeah.
Right? At what point do we see the fucking infrastructure around it?
It's militarized. It's almost militarized.
It is. Well,
pharmaceutically militarized.
Pharmacopornographic regime is what Preciado writes about. And absolutely. It all comes from the military and from pharmaceutical industries and pornography.
Can you say that again? What was the title of that book?
Pharmacopornographic.
Fuck, I love that.
Great term, isn't it? Yeah. If you want to read more about this, Ben Fong has a brilliant book that came out last year called Quick Fixes, Drugs in America and from Prohibition to 21st Century Binge. Just a little call out to a text if you want to read further.
That was another ad.
Another ad.
We sell shit. We don't get paid for it, but we sell shit.
We don't make shit.
We sell
shit.
culture.
Other people's shit.
Yeah.
And you'll see within this that she also uses a generic, right? She uses a nostalgic generic. So Sabrina Carpenter does in these film clips, but it's the old VHS video look from the 1990s. So once again, she's drawing, if Chappelle Rowan is using the old Microsoft kind of look, she's using the old VHS look. I think it's even more depressing when she uses it because firstly, she wasn't alive for it. But secondly, it's a nostalgia. It's showing that our nostalgia for our own family, right? This comes to the MILF and the DILF or the stepsister, stepmother porn is also empty, vacuous and fake.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty obvious in a kind of interesting queer camp way that Microsoft from 2000 is fake. But when we start to say, oh, your family videos are fake, like no one was happy or whatever, like it's not, that's a fiction. Yeah. It's a literal fiction because she wasn't alive in the 90s. That's not her aesthetic. And yet, so she's putting herself back in the 90s. You know what that fucking looks like too? I just fucking clocked it. That is, fuck my life, the most well-known Cindy Sherman.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, that should not take me that long.
Yeah.
Right, that's a Cindy Sherman.
I thought of Sophia Loren. I was like, who the fuck is he talking about? Sophia Loren popped up in my head, you know what I mean?
Going close.
Or Cicciolina.
Yeah. No, I'll go there too.
Yeah.
Anyway, it has that look, right? And I think that's devastating in a really, again, interesting, out of focus, dead-eyed. This should fill you with like warmth and nostalgia, but there's nothing here.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. I'm near the end.
You are?
Only 2 slides left.
Wow, because I needed to pause for a moment.
You need a
safe word?
Yes, safe word.
Yes, I need to piss.
Is piss our safe word for piss? I guess so.
I think so.
Okay. Go have a piss. I'll just literally check.
Can you pause it? Because they're like really dense slides. You just went through them. Why did you go through them?
Just 1, 2. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. But yes, go have a piss.
Should I pause?
Yeah, pause. No, go have a piss.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just down the road.
Yeah. It is down the road.
I'll just kill. I mean, I'm editing it anyway.
Yeah, so. It's at 2:24, so you can stop it at 2:24. Do you have ADHD?
No.
Maybe you do.
Shut up.
That was me knocking. Thank you for the break. At 2:24, 3 minutes have gone by. Can we leave the 3 minutes in?
Maybe. I'll think.
Okay.
Okay. Let's wrap this up because I have to get out.
Oh, you do? Oh, damn! I thought we could go for another hour now that I've had a break.
I go I'm gonna give myself 20 minutes.
Okay.
That's generous.
That's thank you.
2 slides. Okay, so
with interruptions. 2 slides with interruptions.
Yeah.
It's not just 2 slides
to tell me.
Yeah.
It's 2 slides with interruptions.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, Mel.
I just had to make that clear.
Okay. So if Chappell Rowan uses the straight to become queer, then Sabrina Carpenter uses the queer. It gets to the queer through the straight. All right. So it's essentially ending up in a similar kind of way, but I think for Sabrina Carpenter, it's more depressing, but in an interesting way. So in the film clip Taste, she kisses a girl and ends up kisses a woman, kisses a girl. Like this, again, it's read so straight. Like it's so interesting that in this clip that is ultimately about killing the boyfriend. and then they move in together, or it's implied that the two exes get together, that it's still read as completely straight, and that this was all just for like lesbian action for the man kind of thing, right? It's so fucking fascinating. Anyway, so it ends up with her, after killing the boyfriend, they end up together, and shows potentially her audience what they can do to each other, right? That's the solidarity bit. Hearing song after song of the loud part being said, of the failure of straightness and men to even approach the possibility of a desire for masculinity, this constant failure. The desire for the masculine could be lifted out of this death drive repetition, right? The death drive repetition of kissing 100 guys, it's the same kind of thing, and found in the solidarity of the audience or in the queering of the straight. Within taste, she says, you'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. Which again, like it's that both solidarity with and jealousy of other women that's expressed in that statement.
It's a weird construct that men have as well of property. Yeah, that line there is such a powerful line.
It is. It is.
You have to taste me when he's kissing you. Yeah. Because you've been with someone else.
Yeah.
There's a legacy imprinted on you of the other person.
Yeah. But also the only way to be queer, like for her to be safely queer, is through kissing her through him, right? Or kissing her for him. Right? So it's always indexed against the straight man. Yeah. So it's always waiting to kill the man. Which in Taste film clip, they kill each other, right? The two women kill each other rather than killing the man. They end up killing the man eventually. But that's what I'm kind of interested in. How can you camouflage queerness through perpetual indexing against straightness? But let's also be clear here, I am doing a very aggressive counter reading here. No one is reading Sabrina Carpenter like this. Yeah. And the radical potential in Carpenter is dramatically less than Rowan, but that's also why she has very different audiences, because she's safe for different audiences. So no matter how direct it states the disappointment, it still does always return to the structure of the straightness of the man. She's not ready to leave him, capital H, him, yet.
Yeah, I was looking at one of the film clips, and she's perpetually having a fight where they're taking off their limbs and killing each other of another woman that slept with the man. Is this the song?
That's Taste.
Yeah, that's Taste.
Yeah. So it's this weird, like, this is where it's like this double male fantasy. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, on the surface, it reads as such like an uninteresting straight male gaze. Mm. But that's why I think something else is going in. It's because it's like of women killing each other for you, but then also kissing each other for you. Yeah. So returning to palliative measures from Freud from 1930. Remember, the three were powerful deflections, substitutive satisfactions, and intoxicants. So in a sense, I think Carpenter, as a symbol, like as what she is, again, who she is a real flesh and bone person, but as a symbol operating in the world, I think she could be described as a palliative measure. Right, she is all three of these things. She's a powerful deflection, she's a substitutive for satisfaction, and she is an intoxicant. So Carpenter is what Freud called of his addiction to cigars, right? As his cigars were administering palliative measures for him. In other words, she's smoothing the pillow with straightness as it dies. And I think we can see that in her like distant look, right? She's terminal. She's the terminal straightness that we're looking at.
While she's drinking a bubble tea.
And her espresso.
Yeah.
Yeah. And holding a credit card.
Yeah.
So while we can do a queer reading of the misery of heterosexuality here, it's also true that Republicans go to her concerts, right? So there is also, like, she's as close as you get to a pop star that Republicans like, because she appears to be affirming certain types of gender and straightness. So she is still predominantly and almost entirely read as straight. And so her counter-identified queer pleasure within straightness, without it ever having to be named or labelled queer. And that's obviously a problem. Or if you can't admit that it's a performance, then the radical nature of it requires levels of unpacking, or at least is more repressed. But also, I think it may not even be that in fact there may not even be repressed. Again, this is just like throwing something out here, but there may not even be repressed desire here. It may be that it is just vacuous emptiness that we're looking at, rather than vacuous emptiness as a camouflage for actual desire. It may be that the analysis that I'm trying to perform here of the unconscious in her songs is similarly a type of misidentification. It may actually just be a complete submission to the generic aesthetic itself. She is just, i.e. her image is just the generic, which is a nothingness. Remember that Freud gave up his cigars for a little bit, right? So he deliberately tried to give them up. So she may be the giving up rather than the cigar itself. And by that I mean he was dying. So Freud was dying and he knew he was, but he gave them up anyway. So he gave up the substitute of his desire. It didn't matter at that point. He just fucking kept smoking, but he gave them up. And not to find a real, not to like try and like, I don't know, break through the replacement to maybe suck a cock or whatever it happened to be, but to feel nothing because there was nothing left. However, he did, and this is like good on Freud, he did return to smoking them again before he died. So good on him for like at least having a substitute. So what I'm interested in, is she a substitute for satisfaction? In which case that means she's a pathway towards what the real satisfaction is? Or is she the giving up of even the possibility of the substitution of desire? So, in other words, to think about it another way, when she has sex without caffeine, without antidepressants, without having to think of another woman when she's with a man or another person when she's with another man, she will be ready to become queer, which simply means non-normative in whatever sense that might be. However, like Freud, it is also too late. It's so like we're dying. It's palliative in that sense. In Taste, she has to die 4 times. She's killed 4 times, and you talk about it, right? She's killed 4 times. The other woman is killed 4 times in that film clip before the man is killed, and even then he's killed by accident. She thinks that she's shooting the other woman, and it transforms into the man, right? So we don't get to die 4 times just to stop the world from turning. And yet that is what that film clip is telling us that needs to happen. Like we are killing each other, and we need to do it like we need this palliative like ending again and again and again before we realize, no, we just need to shoot the fucking man. Yeah. Then we can have some sort of desire, but we can't do that, right? We can't do that, but we can't stop the feeling. So Carpenter is our audience's powerful deflection, our substance satisfaction, and she is our intoxicant. And I am intoxicated by her, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I think I can be.
Yeah, you answered my question. Do you like them? You just did. Yeah,
I think I desire them.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to think about what that means, but I think
sound for me is a very important aesthetic. I know doesn't like the two words don't go together because one is a visual thing and an aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
But an aesthetic, I think, has evolved not only as a visual thing, like you can see sound. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And when I saw the film clips yesterday, when I listened to them, they were, for me, like I said, this hum, this generic white hum, this like a cappella of fucking America. So I want to say to the 2 audience people from the stats that we have in America listening to this, right? 2 or 3 now, get the fuck out while you can, right? Because it's going to be a fucked up place.
Yeah, come here.
Because they're going to come for you.
Sabrina, come here.
Yeah. Come here.
I'll put you up.
Yeah. So get the fuck out, and I think you'll do more by getting the fuck out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mel.
That's my take on this.
Thanks, Mel.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm intoxicated by you.
Oh, I'm intoxicated by you, but I'm, like the reason I'm intoxicated by both of them is, and I started not liking. I kind of like Chaperone always, but again, that's because Astrid said that she was good, so that made me listen. But because I researched, like I did this work, I critically thought about them, and I think it's also like this is the thing about like erotics and desire that I think is so fucked up, is that we think that there is no thinking to erotics, and it's like I find thinking erotic, right? Yeah. So I find Carpenter erotic because I've thought about her. Yeah. And I've done this work, and I've found something to desire, whether or not that's real or not. That's how my libido operates.
It's like masturbation.
Yeah.
So you could call this like almost queer, right? Because you're having sex with yourself. It's a single having sex with yourself is queer.
Yeah, but I mean,
it's the queerest thing you could do.
Laura, But
so
Laura is doing her honors on masturbation. Yeah, but the very idea that having sex with yourself is always having sex with someone else. Yeah, and others in a collective, and it's how much we recognize that collective that makes it more queer or less queer. Because a straight person will masturbate and not think that it's with someone else, or even think it's with themselves, right? It's just this not thinking, like it's just this compulsion. But what happens if we think about what masturbation is and who it's with? And it might be with ideas, right? It may be with Sabrina Carpenter, but I'm not using her as a masturbatory aid.
No, you're not. No. But that was just like a...
I know, but that's exactly right. Like I'm masturbating to the thinking that's required to to become intoxicated.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
That's really awesome. Right.
Exactly. Talking about it is queer.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's supposed to be natural. It has to be perceived as natural, because if you start talking, you reveal the infrastructure
Exposing, exactly.
that supports it.
Fuck, this is a good segue to goodbye.
Goodbye, Mel.
I don't really want to. I want to.
I know. I want to keep
continue.
going too, but I can't. I mean, I feel. It's not you.
No,
it's me.
I hate that. Have you ever been broken up to like that? It's not you. It's me.
Yeah, of course.
Have you ever broken up with someone?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's the generic container for how to break up with someone.
It's not you. It's me.
Yeah.
Bye.